All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Yeah.
All right. Well, as you can see, we've had a few more little bugs worked out. We got ASAP logo up there. I think we're making improvements for the newest edition of ASAP. So, Dustin, how do you feel about the show so far? Is it going a little smoother than yesterday?
We're smoother than yesterday. We're doing well.
Hey, listen, we can't all be as smooth as Pride and Freddie Henderson. You know, some of us are a little old school, so it is what it is. But hey, it's good to be back talking with you guys again this morning, and hopefully maybe Jay or Freddie will stop by, or who knows who, Robert, whatever. But for now, you got me and Stat Guy. You got any stats to start us off with, by curiosity, or do you need some time to work one up?
No, Joe Burrow is trying to become the third quarterback in NFL history to win both the Heisman Trophy and Super Bowl. And ironically enough, if he does that, he will join Joe Namath and Joe Montana.
I'm telling you, hey, listen, I've been watching, I've been reading different things, people talking about Joe Burrow, man, and it really seems like this guy's got an X factor, like this guy's doing something special that, you know, nobody else is really, or I should say very few people have done. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible about the amount of success that has really kickstarted him off in his first year. I call it his first year because I don't really consider last year a first year, but just due to all the issues he had with his knee. So I really look at this year as his really true rookie year. Do you find it, you know, that the amount of success that he's having, do you find that to be, you know, uncanny, or is that kind of what we expected him coming out of LSU?
I mean, it follows his track record, because if you look at his first year as a starter with LSU, he was decent, but he wasn't great. But then his second year at LSU, they go 14-0, win the national title. He puts up numbers that not many college quarterbacks had ever put up. Goes to the NFL. The team was 2-7 his rookie year. He wasn't playing terrible, but he wasn't playing great. Second year in the league, he goes and does what he does. So he's kind of just following that same trajectory that he did in college.
You know, and the interesting thing about it, Dustin, is the fact that, you know, a lot of athletes, if they get negative criticism in any kind of way, they tend to lash out at the media. They tend to, you know, have minced words on Twitter, on pretty much any social media site. And it seems like with Joe Burrow, I know the question was asked during the media day, and I think it was asked by one of our guys. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Mike Hughes that asked I don't know if it was the quarterback's coach or the offense coordinator. I think it was the quarterback's coach. They asked the quarterback's coach, you know, how does Joe Burrow deal with the negativity? Because we don't see him commenting on the negative things that are out there in terms of how he was going to come back from this rehab stint. And the guy was pretty much saying, you know, that, hey, that's not Joe Burrow's style. Joe Burrow doesn't listen to the negative criticism. Joe Burrow doesn't get caught up in, you know, all the negativity. He stays focused, and he stays focused on the game plan and what he has to do to go out there and be successful. He doesn't really get caught up in the negativity. Do you find that interesting that he's so cool that he is able to do that when other athletes don't really necessarily handle the negativity very well?
Jay, I don't know if you saw the Ron and Rob who get into the show because they go for the cheers and I let them both into. But to your question, I mean, he didn't win the starting job at Ohio State. He transferred out of Ohio State to go to LSU. So from the time he transferred, he was already hearing all that negative energy and all those negative comments that he couldn't cut it as an NCAA quarterback just because he left Ohio State and went to LSU. Obviously, that was a good move for him. would have probably been a better move for Ohio State to keep him there just because he turned out to be a great quarterback. And he just kind of carried that to the NFL because as an NFL quarterback, if you let the negativity, and if you let all the negative energy affect you in this league, you're not going to be successful. So the best way to be successful is kind of to let all that negative energy go to the wayside, and that's what Burrow has done, and he's done a good job of it.
Trying to figure out how to add Robert to this conversation. What was it? Ron, what is your opinion of Joe Burrow?
He's the future.
Hey, Ron. Robert, hold on a second. I'm trying to add you to this thing. Nobody ever said this show was going to go smoothly. I don't know how to add him to this thing because I don't see him. I think I got him, but I don't have him. Freddie's. I'm probably going to get fired on this show. Don't worry about it, guys. This won't be forever. I promise.
You're doing a great job, man.
No, I'm doing terrible. I can't add Robert to the show. Robert, just put your things in the comments. We'll answer them.
He's in right now.
Oh, Robert's in? No, I'm not talking about Ron. Robert.
Rob is bottom right, and Ron was bottom. Rob was bottom.
What's up, guys?
Bottom right. They're both in there.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. All of a sudden. Did I figure it out? Did I not figure it out? I think I figured it out. Why is there Ron's video coming up? Ron, turn your video on.
My video's on.
All right. Now I think we're cooking with Crisco.
They have the kerosene, Jade. I was like a match.
Freaking Robert, man. He would be the guy that gives me all the crap. Okay. I'm not messing with another damn thing. Pardon my French. Robert, can you hear us okay?
You're muted.
I can hear you.
Okay. Listen, it only took me a half an hour to figure out what button to click on, but we're good now. So now we're just gonna stay status quo. Robert, Joe Burrow. What do you think about Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow he's a nice young quarterback. I think people are praising him a little highly too fast. I mean, he's already getting Brady comparisons, and we need to pump the brakes on that. But I like Smoking Joe. Smoking Joe is a great young quarterback, and I'm interested to see how his future and what actually holds for him in the future. So I'm interested in Joe Burrow, and I think I might become a fan, but we're gonna put a pause on that right quick.
But how do you feel about him not being like I was asking, like I was talking about Dustin and Ron, you throw your 2 cents in as well, no pun intended there for Rob, but how do you feel about, in terms of just how he handles the negativity? Most people, when they get negativity, Ron, you know this, and Robert, you know this. God, it's an N and a B, it's killing me. But how do you feel about this? I mean, he doesn't lash out. He doesn't, you don't hear nothing from him. He says, I work in the silence. Everything I do is in the silence, and it comes out on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, depending on what day his game is played. When most big megastars, you criticize them even the least little bit, and they're just going off the handle. What do you think about Joe Cool and how he handles negativity?
Is that for me? Is it for Ron or Rob?
Well, you go first, then Ron, you can answer a second.
Oh, well, the way he handles negativity, I think, is the way he handles in-game strife. I mean, we're talking about a young quarterback that took 9 sacks and still got the W. And I think, Skip Bayless kind of mapped it out pretty good. This kid has been in big games since high school. We know what he did at LSU. We see what he's doing now in the NFL. He has a strong backbone. I don't think he's afraid of the pressure. I think he welcomes the pressure, and I think he likes to prove critics wrong. He might be one of those players that use that as ammunition to produce those big games on Sundays or that big game on Monday Night Football when you got national coverage, or those Thursday night games. So I think Joe is really living up to the moniker of Joe Cool. I like Joe.
Right. And Ron, how do you feel about it?
Joe Burr.
My favorite thing about Joe Burrow is he's an adult and he's focused. I think it comes from the upbringing, not really being the guy in college and just being ready for the moment because he doesn't take it for granted. My favorite thing that he said that he came out with was he was talking to the youth. He was like, when you're focused and you know what you're doing, sometimes you got to just turn off social media and focus on what you're doing and get outside of what the world is saying about you, how things are going, and just stay focused. But the Brady comparisons is crazy. One AFC championship win compared to Brady's 14 appearances is like Rob said, let's slow down a little bit. But
Right.
you know, Joe Burrow really wasn't the guy in college, transfers to LSU and gets some of the two most incredible talents at wide receiver. And he comes to the Bengals and gets an incredible cast of wide receivers as well in the second year. So I'm just thinking, is Joe Burrow the same guy if he doesn't have all of this equipment around him? That's the only thing that I'm thinking that could stop him if we're talking about a run of multiple appearances, which is where everybody's starting to think. But that's not given. That's really only been one person in the NFL history, Tom Brady. Like, we can compare him to Joe Montana, not Joe Montana. He was kind of always there as well. But all the other major quarterbacks, like who was the guy on in Miami?
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino, right? He went to like the Super Bowl or championship game his first year and didn't really go back at all ever since. At all. So could that be Joe Burrow? Are we taking it too far? I don't know. But as a Rams fan, I'm terrified.
Hey, but not to mention also to kind of add to that, Tom Brady made it look so easy that people don't realize what he did was an anomaly. That's not going to be duplicated. At least probably not until we're like old as dirt. So you got to look at it. When we talk about once in a lifetime generational talent, and if you look at Tom Brady's history, we're talking about a guy who made receivers household names. Nobody knew who a Julian Edelman was, a Wes Welker, a Danny Amendola. These are guys he made into household names. And to Ron's point, Joe was blessed enough to come into the league with weapons. Actually, with a weapon that he's familiar with from college. So, let's pump the brakes on the Tom Brady comparisons. I mean, you got to start comparing him to Matthew Stafford first before we get to the GOAT.
Well, I think it's fair to say. I think it's really fair to say. It's not fair to say, is he the next Tom Brady? Because we don't know. Like you said, to that, I don't want to go that realm. But what I would say is, what I think is more fair to the situation is that he has Tom Brady-like attributes.
Yeah.
And this is what I think. I think that when Brady first came into the league, we weren't trying to compare him to Joe Montana. We were like, oh, my God, it's Tom Brady. This guy was a 6th-round pick. How the hell are you trying to compare a 6th-round pick who did a terrible, terrible scouting combine? And now you want to tell me he's next Joe Montana because he got one Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. Okay, everybody has to start somewhere is my point. Yeah. Everybody has to start somewhere. But when you have Tom Brady-esque attributes, in other words, like into Rob Scott's point of view, he got sacked 9 damn times.
9 times.
And he won. He never
didn't
got
fumble and lose the ball one time.
But he never got, oh my God, like he didn't fall apart. He rallied the troops. He came back and he won. And let's be honest, he don't have the greatest offensive line. We all know that's the knack on this team.
No, not at all. Not at all. And then, like I always mention too, remember the Bears game.
Yeah.
Throwing 3 consecutive interceptions would deteriorate a quarterback's confidence. And even though they lost that game, he made it a winnable game for the Bengals.
Right,
so,
and I think, and that's the thing. This is only his first real year. I don't look last year. Last year to me doesn't count. That was almost like his little exhibition because he wasn't there long enough. To me, this is really Joe Burrow's true rookie year. Honestly, But I think you can't say he's Tom Brady because, like you said, it's too early. But he has attributes of Brady, and the way that the way his IQ is, the way his composure is, the way he's able to handle situations. And I think you could say like, hey, he is on track to reach Brady-like accomplishments if he can stay healthy and continue to learn the game of football.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit more fair to say that than it is to say, well, he's the next Tom Brady, because we don't know. We got a long way to go. But I'll tell you this much. Hey, I like where it's going. And I'm really, like you said, by the time it's all said and done, we're going to be like, I might be alive. Let's say 20 years from 50. I'll be like 70. I'll be 75.
Well,
I'll be 75. Probably a stat guy. He'll be like 90, but he'll look 30 because he's so young looking. And well, Rob, let's be honest, man. I mean, you're kind of an older looking guy too, man. But and Ron over there, I don't know, man. Ron, you can't tell it Ron because he keeps that beanie cap so damn far down. I can't see his hairline. So we don't know about Ron. Ron's the anomaly.
It's declining. It's reclining, Jay. That's how he's on.
I tell you this though, man. Joe Burrow has the mind of a quarterback, but he got the swagger of a receiver, don't he?
He does. That's what I like. I love it when he has a cigar. Like, who doesn't want to see Joe Burrow with a cigar?
You said he has the swag of a receiver. Y'all know he wanted to play DB, right? I just found that out. That's nuts.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
I wonder how much success Joe Burrow would have had at the DB spot. I don't know. Maybe we're not talking about Joe Burrow if he's a DB. Maybe he's just another third or fourth round DB, but he's a first round quarterback. I mean, I think for Joe Burrow, it worked out the way it's supposed to work out. And maybe being a DB or wanting to be a DB, maybe that gives him a little bit of insight into that position to help him be a better quarterback. I don't know.
Hey, but to the Rams' defense, their defense is respecting Joe. So that's a good thing. They're not going in there thinking, okay, we got the Bengals number. I mean, you have to know as a defense that just watched another defense sack this guy 9 times and he was able to pull it out. They're like, okay, this kid got some stuff. So I'm looking for, Aaron Donald. I'm looking for Leonard Floyd to put their hands on Joe because they understand that's what you have to do to get a quarterback rattled. So it's going to be a nice chess match this Sunday in the Super Bowl.
A couple quick questions for you, Rob, and Dustin too. I mean, if you're Sean McVay, who are you putting Jalen Ramsey on? Are you going to put him on Higgins or are you going to put him on Jamar Chase?
Ooh.
Because both of those wideouts he has connections with, and he can throw 200 yards on either one of them guys. So my thing is, you put Patrick Ramsey on Jamar.
Yeah. If you try to put him on Chase, he's gonna, because Jalen Ramsey is not a corner that's gonna get up on you. He lets the play develop. He likes to give you a little space, and that might be up Chase Allen because Chase has shown he can go up with the best of them. So that's gonna be interesting. You're gonna have to put him on Chase because I love Higgins, but Chase is your best receiver. So you're gonna have to put your best corner on your best receiver. Right now is not the time to be passive. It's time. It's time to go balls to the wall. This is the Super Bowl, baby.
Take him out the game.
Same question to you, Ron. Who you putting Patrick Ramsey on?
So, if we're comparing the game to a game of chess, of course, the easy option is to go ahead and rush your queen and take the king, put Ramsey on Chase and take him out the game. However, I don't feel like it's going to work. I don't think Ramsey is really going to be able to take him out of the game. So why not put him on Higgins and just double Jamar?
Yeah, that's what I was almost thinking. You almost would have to double Jamar and I would have to bring his safety over and double up on him.
Got to keep a safety over him. We can't let no 80-yard bombs happen.
Hey, but you got to
what
be
are you doing,
careful with that running game.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get to the running game in a minute. Hold on there, Montfrere. Stat guy, how do you feel about Patrick Ramsey, Jamar Chase, or do we double up him and put Patrick Ramsey on another guy? I mean, what are we doing here?
Considering how Patrick Ramsey is a 42-year-old retired NFL quarterback, I don't know if that would be the best choice to put on Jamar Chase. But if we're going with Jalen Ramsey, I put
Jalen Ramsey. That's what I meant. Dadgummit.
Oh,
Leave it at the stat guy to point out my faux pas. I thought we were going to leave that in the production side, but okay. Thank you.
I would put Jalen Ramsey on Jamar Chase at least for the first half. Let Ramsey play physical with Chase. Try to get in Chase's head a little bit, which kind of might force Burrow into some bad throws, trying to force things to Chase. As the game goes on, then you can kind of switch Ramsey up, move him around a little bit, where Higgins has a big first half, move Ramsey over to Higgins in the second half, and then play a single high safety over on Jamar Chase again, where you can double team him.
Yeah, and I think that's what Ron was saying too. And I definitely agree with you. I think you got to keep two guys on that guy because to Rob's point, he is fast, and that is their best one. So I almost think you want to double up him and put Patrick maybe on somebody else. I don't know, but let me ask you. Let's turn to another part. That front offensive line, like we said for Cincinnati, is obviously suspect. Mm-hmm. How are they going to even come close to maintaining Darnold and Von Miller? Rob, what do you think about that one? I mean, how does that happen?
Every dog has their day. But I think this is a game that's going to play well in the Rams' favor. I mean, we're talking about a defense who I feel, Ron, I apologize for this. We're talking about a defense who's kind of been overrated this year. Like, I think their names have made more buzz than their actual play. So I think they're going to be coming out to want to prove something. Aaron Donald is going to want to show that he's still the best defender in football. He's going to want to get to the quarterback. I know Leonard Floyd history because he used to be a Chicago Bear. So I know he's made up of all the right stuff. I'm talking about a Von Miller who actually was a breath of fresh air for this defense. If we see what he did against the Kansas City Chiefs, Von Miller, not the Chiefs, but the Buccaneers. He was making life tough for Tom Brady until Tom Brady had that miraculous second half. So you got to think that this is perfect, a perfect game for the defense of the Rams to show what they're really made of. The question is, are you going to go out there and execute it? Because if you don't make life tough for Burrow, he's going to make life tough for you.
Oh, yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. Ron, if you're the Rams, how do you like your chances going up against with Aaron Donald and Von Miller? How are you liking that as well? Are you guys going to be able to penetrate and get to Burrow enough and force him into enough bad situations to where he makes bad throws?
Without a doubt, Aaron Donald is the best player in the NFL, but that's also the Rams' weakness. It's easy to find those gaps and run on the Rams because Aaron Donald and Floyd and Miller are always just bombing it up, and it's opening up. But the Bengals, I'm looking at their rushing yards this year, aren't really that much of a rush-heavy team. So I don't know if they're going to be able to develop the run game the way they need to, especially in a Super Bowl game. That's really going to be the key to the game, is watching the linemen, those inside groups. And, of course, the Rams are going to be dominant on the pass. But if the Bengals can get that run going, get some play action going, the Rams is in trouble. If we get into a shootout where Joe Burrow is just dropping back and getting sacked a bunch of times, but also creating and getting back up and throwing touchdowns, it's going to be a shootout. And if it comes down to a shootout, who are y'all taking, Joe Burrow or Stafford?
I'm going Burrow.
Yeah, I'm kind of going Burrow right now too, honestly, because you got to figure. I mean, the Rams have two wideouts, obviously, in Kupp and Odell Beckham, just like Cincinnati has their two. Who's a third one for LA that would come out and be able to do some damage on Cincinnati? Because I don't know who their third number. And I don't have the depth chart in front of me, but
Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson. That's it. Yeah. That's right. They got Van Jefferson.
It's time for him to show up.
And do you think it's possible that Van Jefferson has a big day tomorrow, stat guy, or Sunday? I mean,
it's possible because he's done it before. But I mean, Cincinnati's secondary has been suspect. Mm-hmm. So, as much as everyone wants to say who's going to guard Jamar Chase or who's going to guard Cooper Kupp, who's going to guard Odell Beckham, who's going to guard Van Jefferson. So, I mean, they can try to take Jamar Chase out all they want. But if he ends up having a big game like he tends to do, I'm more worried about Cincinnati's secondary being able to stop not only Cooper Kupp, but stop Odell Beckham, because Beckham's finally looking like the Odell Beckham of old. Cooper Kupp is having the best year that any receiver's ever had, so obviously one of those two is going to have a big game. It's just a matter of
Right.
who's going to make less mistakes at this point. Is it going to be Joe Burrow making fewer mistakes, or is it going to be Matthew Stafford making fewer mistakes?
But you also have to look at the Bengals too, because Ron mentioned their running game. But if you look at Joe Mixon, we're talking about a guy who got an accumulation of over 1,500 yards. You know,
Yeah,
1,200 in the rushing, and then 300 plus in the receiving game. And they kind of remind me of the Buccaneers when you look at how they would use their running game in the passing game. Joe Mixon to get out there and become a receiver. So, you know, it's going to be interesting because you can kind of look at Joe Mixon being the third guy for the Bengals.
I mean,
So-
ultimately the way to stop the Rams' pass rush is to get the ball out of your hands quickly. Or in the Rams' case, do screen passes to Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine.
Yeah.
If you can get screen passes out to Mixon and Perine in space, that's going to neutralize that Rams' pass rush because they're going to have to start putting Leonard Floyd and Von Miller more on the receiving side of things to take that screen away. And if that's what happens, then you can kind of give Joe Burrow the free rein to do what he likes to do.
You know, and this is a good comment. I know we've been talking about the Super Bowl, and I hate this stupid thing. How do y'all feel about you know, obviously Jonathan Allen was asked a question. You know, it was a hypothetical question. They said, "Who would you like to have dinner with?" And he thinks he said his granddad. He said Michael Jackson, and then of course he said the controversial Adolf Hitler. And I understand what he was trying to convey was like, I think he was wanting to pick his brain about why he was the way he was. But I think it came off obviously as being very insensitive to obviously the Jewish population and so forth. You know, how do you even go about addressing that with him? I mean, because I don't think he meant it out of a malicious way, but at the same time, I mean, how do we handle that type of situation? Rob, I'll let you start off, but we'll go in reverse order all the way, and Stat Guy, you wrap it up. But you know, does he get counseled? Does he get canceled? I mean, are we gonna let it go? I mean, what needs to be done with the Jonathan Allen comment?
What did he say?
So the question was posed to him by a listener. If he could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you want to have dinner with? And the first one he said was his granddad. The second one was Adolf Hitler, and the third one was Michael Jackson. And then they asked about why would he want to have dinner with Adolf Hitler? And he said because he was a military tactician, even though he was evil and he doesn't support Adolf Hitler, but he wanted to pick his brain as to why he did the things that he did. So I think he was trying to understand why Hitler did what Hitler did. Not so much he supported Hitler, but that he was trying to understand Hitler. And they basically took that comment as like, how could you say Hitler when all these Jews were persecuted and things like that, and the Holocaust and so forth? So they took they took him out of context, but also, I mean, it's a sensitive subject, and it got turned all kinds of different ways. And now the question is how do we go about dealing with Jonathan Allen's tweet? You know, do we admonish him? Do we you know what should be done with him?
Well, I'll say this. You can't get mad at the man for answering the question. He answered a question that he was asked. We as not just Americans, but people have to stop being so damn sensitive. He never said he supported what Hitler did. He never stated that what Hitler did was right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you really pay attention to, if you ask me that, I would like to have dinner with a grandmaster from the Ku Klux Klan. I would like to understand, why do you think the way do you think? What makes you operate that way? Because in order to understand anything or overcome a fear, you know, you have to ask these questions. You have to sit down and get into a mode of thinking and not be so one-sided. Hey, it's called his story. The winner of the war tells the story. So
absolutely.
You know, I always compare it to this. If you guys ever watched The Walking Dead, If you saw the story of Rick and you saw the story of Negan, had you seen the story through either one of their eyes, the other guy is the wrong guy. You know, it depends on who eyes are you watching the story through. So, I mean, for them to, you know, have this guy, you know, part of the cancel culture because he answered a question, I would tell you to get the bleep out of here.
Right. And that's what he said basically when they, you know, when all this came about, all the I guess the negative backsplash was coming back towards him. He's like, look, they asked me that's exactly what he said. They asked me the question and I answered the question. I never said I supported it. I was just saying I wanted to understand why he did what he did. And I mean, you can't fault that. I'm even curious why he did what he did.
Nobody's saying Hitler was a great person, but attributes of a leader. We're talking about a guy who had a whole country back his movement. So yes, I mean, if you want to become a great leader, you're gonna have to talk to great leaders, and not every great leader is a good person.
That's true. We know that for a fact. All right, so, Ron, what is your opinion on this situation?
I just want to make sure I heard Rob correctly. Did you say you want to have dinner with Clayton Bigsby?
I would. I would, because I want to understand what is it about my skin color that you hate so bad.
Oh my gosh. Was he trying to be funny when he said this?
Oh, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Jonathan Allen?
Yeah, it was a tweet or
no,
was
I
he lying?
I don't think he was trying to be funny. I think he just answered the question for what the question was. And I think a lot of people just see that's the thing. Like Ron was saying, like people are so sensitive that you can't even talk about subject matters, because if you even mention the name Hitler, well, then you done pissed off half the population of the U.S. because you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't just. And I get what he's saying. He all he wanted to do is find out more about what made Hitler Hitler. But you can't bring that subject matter up, because if you do, then I guess it opens up wounds for, you know, all kinds of issues, right? And I guess that's the question, Ron. How do you what is your take on it?
I hate that there's really two things in this world that'll get you canceled. Is if you talk about something in the Jewish culture, of course, Hitler being a main thing in the LGBT community. It's biased. It's not really for everybody. You can shame Latinos, you can shame Blacks, you can shame Asians. You can do and say just about anything and come out here and act a arse. But the moment you bring up someone like Hitler, you become a bad person. It's
public enemy number one.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The cancel culture is flawed. I hate it, Jay. I think we're too sensitive. This world is so dang soft.
It is. It is. I would love to have dinner with Paul Castellano. Does that make me say that I believe everything the mob does is good? No, but we're talking about men who lead men. I'm interested to see what are your.
Yeah, there are a lot of really good mob movies out there. We would have no good mafia movies. Goodfellas.
Hitler's autobiography is one of the most popular and sold books worldwide. So a lot of people apparently want to have a dinner with Hitler. I have the book, so I guess I'm in that category as well.
Again, these viewpoints of Rod are not necessarily ASAP Network.
They go, they can't get ASAP canceled. I take it back. I plead the fifth.
All right, Stat Guy. Hey, I said the best for last, man. How do you feel about this, man?
I mean, who doesn't want to have dinner with either Hitler, Osama bin Laden, or any of these people just to know why they think the way they think? Obviously, there was something in their life before they got to where they got that made them think the way they do about us, that made them want to do the things they did to other people they did it to. And I mean, some people might find it weird to say, but why wouldn't you want to sit down with them and just find out like what makes them tick the way they tick and what makes them want to do the things they want to do to who they want to do it to? There's got to be something that either from their parents or just something that happened during their childhood or whatever to get them to think the way they do. I just think more so on Jonathan Allen's situation. Look at the team you play for. Look at how much controversy your team has caused the last couple of years. Why would you want to draw any additional attention to yourself?
Great point.
Like, you play in Washington, D.C., technically Landover, Maryland, but
Yeah.
you're right where the president lives. You just went through the whole Washington Redskins name change fiasco where you've been the Washington football team for the last 2 years. Your owner, Daniel Snyder, has been under fire for whatever emails were never leaked. And now you want to say something like this. Like, you at least need to know your place, to know the organization you play for, because when your organization's already been the center of attention for 2 years, why say something like, even if you were joking about it, why say something stupid enough to draw more attention to yourself and the organization?
Right.
No, I definitely agree with you. And it's like I said. I mean, people. I don't know, man. As some cases, there are things that need to be talked about, even though they are sensitive. I mean, if you don't talk about it, how can you ever fix it or keep it from happening a second go around, right? Because we all know history repeats itself.
I mean,
if you don't
if this was still back in the day, us four gentlemen wouldn't be able to be having this great conversation that we're having right now. You know, you have to understand the situation. I heard a great saying that said, when I was younger, I rooted for the hero, but when I was older, I understood the villain. Woo!
Oh man, I don't know if I even put this one up there, man. But I don't want to be selective on the comment share. I'm gonna get this one up there.
Hey, yeah, we don't want the Secret Service knocking on our door. Okay?
Hey, through the FBI, this does not represent ASAP.
Rob ain't had nothing to do with that one.
But no, all right. Hey, so we'll turn our attention to about. I want to finish up the whole Super Bowl conversation real quick.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to do a brief segue because I know that the whole Jonathan Allen really stirred up a hornet's nest of issues and contemplations and whatnot. But you know, Matt Stafford, man. I mean, how much? I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like some pressure's got to be on Matt Stafford's shoulders because I feel like he's got to know, hey, this is my chance to right all of the things that people have been saying about me, you know, not being able to get the big dance, not being able to win the big dance. I mean, how do y'all feel about Matt Stafford in terms of, you know, how will this define him if he doesn't get a Super Bowl out of this?
I feel I just want to speak for Rams Nation. I feel like he's already done it, Jay. He beat Brady. I didn't expect that.
I mean, what do you think, Rob? I mean, and Ron, I agree with you. He beating Brady was a big monumental milestone, but let's be honest. I mean, we only look at people by if you win the big dance or don't win the big dance. I mean, what do you think, Rob? I mean, is this Super Bowl a bust for him?
I'm going to actually surprise you guys with this answer because I have to kind of agree with Ron. Beating Brady was probably bigger. I'm not going to say bigger than the Super Bowl, but that was their first Super Bowl of the year. Beating Brady, you know, and actually being the team that put him in retirement. That, you know, that has to be in itself a huge accomplishment. And I'm going to actually say, as time has progressed, because Matthew Stafford has answered the bell and made it to the Super Bowl, I think he's taken some pressure off of him. I think he's kind of shifted the pressure to the defense to see if they can stand up and hold true, because technically this is a defensive team. This is a defense first team. So now with the love that Joe Burrow is getting, I think it's more pressure on Aaron Donald as the leader of this defense and the rest of the defense to get the job done, because I think Matthew Stafford will be able to score. He will be able to put you in a position. He has great weapons, and Odell Beckham Jr., the Triple Crown receiving champion, and Cooper Kupp. They have weapons. So I think the defense now, can you stop smoking Joe? The pressure is on the defense now.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, Ron?
So I got a little.
Oh, I think I got you already. Damn it! But you can go again. I'm not afraid to give you twice. Hey, don't get mad at me, stat guy. I'm coming up to you.
So the Rams we got to look at as the elite talent in the league. Rams, Chiefs. I'll throw the Bills in there, and there's probably another team that I'm forgetting. The Bengals are not supposed to be here. They barely beat the Raiders, barely beat the Titans, and the Chiefs are supposed to be in the Super Bowl. They were up. They goofed it. One of the most embarrassing losses, and the Bengals are here.
Sorry, Greg.
The Rams can't. I have not yet seen the Rams play a complete game yet. They're either off in the first half or letting the team come back in the second half. I think it's going to go a lot like the Chiefs game. We're going to see the Rams come out and jump on the Bengals, maybe go up 2 touchdowns, 14-3 or something like that. And then the second half is going to be, can Joe Burrow bring his team back? And the Rams have the yips. The Rams do have the yips. There's going to be some fumbles, some defensive lapses. Like Rob was saying, is the defense going to stand up? We were up multiple touchdowns on Brady, and he just kept coming back and coming back. It's going to be the same show for the Rams, and it's going to come down to that last possession again.
All right, stat guy, what's your opinion?
Oh, man.
I mean, if Matthew Stafford loses, it's not going to do anything to him because he's trying to accomplish something that nobody's been able to accomplish. And if there's an article, there's a story, there's a bunch of stuff written about it. No team in NFL history has ever won the Super Bowl when their quarterback makes more than 13% of the team's salary cap. Matthew Stafford is up 15%. He's over that 13% threshold. So if he loses, it's just going to be history repeating itself where it's pretty much a common trend where if you make more than that number, you don't win. And if he wins, then he's going to be the first quarterback to accomplish that feat, snapping that streak in history. Because if you look at all the Super Bowls that Tom Brady has won, he's never been over 10% of the team's salary cap. Because he always takes pay cuts to help the team around him and bringing all the pieces. Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl came under his rookie contract, and he was making $2 million. Since then, he hasn't gotten back. You look at all the quarterbacks in like the last couple of years, Patrick Mahomes has won under his rookie contract. He got there twice under his rookie contract, and now his extension has kicked in. Joe Burrow is under his rookie contract. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, Nick Foles was only making $2 million a year. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, and Carson Wentz was on his rookie deal. So all these teams that are winning the Super Bowl basically win with a quarterback either on a rookie deal, because when the Rams last got there, Jared Goff was on his rookie deal making $31.5 million. And all the teams that win have a quarterback that is under that 13% salary cap threshold. So there's really no pressure on Matthew Stafford, just because if he wins, he does something that nobody else in his salary cap category has done. But if he loses, it's just history repeating itself again, where a quarterback that's ahead of that number just doesn't win.
Man, we missed you, Dustin, because that is a stat I would not have thought of.
Hey, I'm telling you, hey, nobody knows stats like Dustin, man. I would never. You know what? Dustin would be that guy that if he ever went on Jeopardy, they might as well just shut the show down.
Oh, the real. Come
Hey, we're trying to give
eulogy, brother.
away. Nobody. Alex Trebek just be like, man, just give him the show, man. Just let him have his thing, man. We're good. Hey, real quick, so I'm gonna turn the attention to Sean McVay. Since we're talking about pressure, let's talk about Sean McVay for a second. You know, this will be his second time going to the Super Bowl. Once, obviously, with Goff. Now with Stafford. How much pressure is he under?
That's a great question,
Rob.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you brought him up, Jay, because if he loses this Super Bowl, you know,
and he's all in.
It's gonna be a lot of questions now, because it now is gonna turn into, you know, how good of a coach really are you? He seems to be a player's coach. His team seems to respect him, but you made it with Jared Goff. Of course, you know, you ran into Tom Brady, but we're talking about a Patriots team that really didn't score that much, and you still couldn't get the job done. And now you switch quarterbacks because you said that's why you couldn't get the job done. You bring in a Matthew Stafford and you get back to the dance and you don't win again. I want to see if he's going to be treated like the black head coaches. Are you going to be let go because you didn't get the job done? Or are you going to hold on to him for another couple of years? That's going to be the question, because we just saw Black head
We're gonna
coaches
hold
who
on to
have
them for the
winning
next
seasons
decade.
be let go of.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Ron, before you go, this is my question, and basically, just like what Rob is saying, look, look, he is all in. If you're at the poker table, Sean McVay literally took all of his chips and slid it to the middle and said, "You know what? This is everything I have to offer you. All the draft picks I gave up, all the free agents I brought in. This is what I got. If he does not win after going all in, what kind of pressure is he under?"
I think the Rams win the Super Bowl.
Hey, for your sake, something basic. I hope so.
I don't think so because somebody gonna want to get paid.
OBJ will go to Kansas City.
You think he's going to Kansas City?
I think OBJ is going to go to Kansas City.
Oh my God! You say he gonna go with the Chiefs?
I think so. There's a lot of reports out there that he wants to play with Mahomes.
Oh,
Wait! You said Odell Beckham wants to go play with Mahomes?
Yeah.
That would be
Is he
dumb
really
for
gonna
Odell
wanna
Beckham
leave-
to do that.
he
He's
really
got a
gonna
great
wanna leave
home where he's at
California?
now.
I wouldn't leave California for Kansas City.
I'm not leaving it either. Have you ever been to Kansas City? There's not a whole heck of a lot there.
I mean, I like Mahomes, but I mean, we're
The only
talking
reason
about
why
California.
I would do it is you have Mahomes for another 11 years. You don't know how much longer you have Stafford at the level that Stafford's playing right now.
Who wants to live in Kansas City?
Kansas City's not that bad of a place to live.
But it ain't California.
You're right. It's not California. It's cheaper than California.
Don't get me wrong. From a money standpoint, you're right, Dustin. Right, and think about it, because you know how expensive California is. We all know how expensive California is.
But that's expensive to us.
No, it's expensive to them too. Listen, I don't care who you are. Money's still money. Look, let me put it in perspective.
Uh-oh.
I could take a 1,200 square foot home in Kansas City for about maybe $100,000. And that same 1,200 square foot home in California is $1 million. Now, you think that $800,000, you don't think they want that? Now, magnify that. Magnify it because they're not going to have a 1,200 square foot home. Nobody has a 1,200 square foot home if you're an athlete. They're probably going to have like 7 times that amount.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that money adds up. And I want my money.
You. I live in Chicago. I get you.
My money back, government.
I mean, OBJ was blessed to get out of Cleveland. Comes to his location in LA, gets a very comparable quarterback in Matthew Stafford, makes it to a Super Bowl, and all I'm seeing quotes is about how he wanted to go play with Brady and he wanted to go do this and he wanted to go do. I'm like, man, you in a perfect situation and you still thinking about other stuff. So him going to the Chiefs,
I don't know, but when I heard what Odell Beckham said, he was happy where he was at. He didn't have no issues.
It could be his dad talking.
Yeah, it'd be his dad. He told Deebo Samuel after the game, it's okay. I understand what it's like to lose your prime playing with garbage quarterbacks.
I'll tell you one thing. Hey, listen, and I'll tell you this. Hey, listen, how bad does Baker Mayfield look right now? Consider that what Matt Stafford did for Odell Beckham that he was unwilling basically to do there in Cleveland.
We got to take it easy on Baker. He was injured all year, right?
Yeah.
But he still made a choice not to get Odell Beckham involved.
True.
He could have thrown him the ball. He just didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
They were both looking for the locker room.
The thing with Odell Beckham, too, Kansas City tried to get him this year. When he was kind of out of Cleveland, Kansas City did try to get him this year. And it's no secret that when Kansas City had Sammy Watkins to pair with Tyreek Hill, that passing game was a lot better. With Sammy Watkins out of the picture, you had Tyreek Hill, you had Travis Kelce, and then really nobody else. Nicole Hardman had a couple moments here and there. Byron Pringle had a couple moments here and there. But all the attention was focused on Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. You didn't have that secondary option where you couldn't double team him. You bring in a guy like Odell Beckham and put him on Kansas City, that is going to be a nightmare for anybody because not only can they double Beckham, but they can't double Hill, they can't double Kelsey. Mahomes is not going to get blitzed ever because nobody would be able to afford blitzing him. Because the moment you blitz him with those three guys in the passing game, he would torch you and pick you apart.
But what do they do with Hardman? Because you still got because Hardman is their number 3 guy. So what do they do with him? They let him go?
Hardman has got 2 years left on his rookie deal. And he's not a number 3. He's more of like that Percy Harvin, Cordero Patterson, like Swiss Army knife type of player where you can line him up in the backfield for jet sweeps and you can do wide receiver screens and a lot of things that Odell Beckham and Tyreek Hill don't like to do. Yes, you can send him deep because he has the speed to like beat the defense over the top, but he's not a crisp route runner. He's not like a natural receiver like Tyreek Hill and Beckham. He's more of the gadget type receiver where you just design special plays for him to get the most out of him. So then that helps him out too because you free him up to do a lot more things. Because look at how good he was as a rookie when Watkins was the number 2. And look at how much different he was as a player this year. Like he had more receiving yards than he had as a rookie this year, but he didn't have those explosive plays that he had as a rookie because he was forced to be more of a wide receiver, which is something he's not as good at.
Yeah, Tyreek wasn't consistent this past
Exactly.
season.
You give him a guy like Beckham, not only is Hill going to be more consistent, but it's going to open everybody else up to doing what they did best when they were making it to the Super Bowl.
And that's going to become a problem because now who you going to double team? Because you don't want to leave a Travis Kelce open, and you don't want to leave a Tyreek. You don't want to leave Cheetah open.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to double team anybody. You wouldn't be able to blitz Mahomes because the moment you blitz him, somebody's going to be in single coverage, and you're not going to be able to guard Hill, Beckham, or Kelsey in single coverage.
And being that, and let's be honest, being that Odell Beckham Jr. has now resurrected his career and having a great career and show what he can do in LA, now you got to figure if he was to go to Kansas City, his asking price is going to be a little bit higher, wouldn't you think? And can they afford that?
Orlando Brown's a free agent. That's going to be a lot of money. Orlando Brown, their offensive tackle they traded for, is going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
I don't think he re-signs with Kansas City because of what he's going to be asking. But that opens the door to get Beckham because the money they would have gave Brown to go to Beckham.
And I saw somebody comment about comparing Baker to Drew Brees.
Yeah, that was Gridiron Yuki.
I'm not gonna slander Baker yet, but
maybe from a height standpoint.
That's about it. I'm gonna tell you like this now, but Baker got a lot to prove before you even be mentioned in the same breath as a Drew Brees.
I think what he's trying to say though, honestly, is when Drew Brees was with San Diego, he wasn't having a lot of success, but then he gets traded to New Orleans, gets underneath Sean Payton, and then really flourishes. I think what he's trying to say is, do you think if Baker Mayfield was to leave Cleveland and go someplace different, could he have the same type of success going to a different team?
Well, we might find that out because he doesn't want to stay in Cleveland.
I wouldn't. Well, and I don't understand that because honestly, Cleveland gives him a damn good shot. He had a good team. He had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham on either side with Chubb in the backfield, and he had a good defense, and he couldn't make this work.
That tight end.
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. He has had everything you need to be successful. He just has not been successful.
But you also have to look at, I think the fans have kind of turned their back on Baker in Cleveland. And then not to mention with Odell Beckham Jr. getting traded, he lost the locker room. Nobody trusted Baker Mayfield. People actually like Odell Beckham.
Right.
Contrary to belief, popular opinion, Odell Beckham is one of the guys in football. We're talking about a guy who is the top social media guy in the NFL. People gravitate towards this guy. So you losing, your 1A or 1B receiver, whichever one you want to call him, and Jarvis Landry, people were like, well, maybe they should have let you go. So I don't know if I'm Baker Mayfield personally, let me start over somewhere else. Let me get a fresh start. Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay. You never know.
I think he should follow the formula. LeBron already did it. Take your talents to South Beach.
Good luck getting Tua out of Miami since Stephen Ross wants Tua.
They love Tua, man. Don't ask me why.
I don't know.
I think that was an owner thing bringing in Tua, and I don't know if they want to move on from Tua, because doesn't that make them look bad if they weren't successful? Considering that Brian Flores wanted to trade for Deshaun Watson, and they basically put the kibosh on that. So I think they're just in a world of craziness, honestly, over there in Miami right now in terms of that.
Oh, this is just a PSA. Miami, if you need a head coach to throw games for 100 G's a game, I got you.
I wouldn't even need to sign a stinking salary. You want me to throw 100 or a game for $100,000? I'll throw you 17 games.
I got you right now.
All right, man. Hey, let's move on. Let's talk. Let's see. Dustin had a lot of really good topics out there, and I done lost them on my screen. Let me pull up these topics and see what else we got in the pipe. And here we go. All right, number one, James Harden wants out.
Oh, yeah.
And wants to go to Philadelphia bad.
Oh, yeah.
Do the Sixers pull the trigger and send Simmons to Brooklyn in exchange for Harden? And let's be honest, today is the day if it's going to happen. Today is the last day of the trade deadline. Do we see a last-minute trade between these two teams? And Sad Guy, since you started this one off, I'm gonna let you go, and we're gonna go in the around-the-clock horn fashion.
I mean, if Philadelphia was smart, they would do it. You have a guy in Ben Simmons who wants nothing to do with your organization right now. He refuses to play for your organization right now, and yet you're still within 3 games of the top seed in the Eastern Conference, despite not having him play. Then you have a guy in James Harden who's fed up with Brooklyn, who wants out of Brooklyn in the worst way. Granted, he still can play, but he wants out of Brooklyn in the worst way. Why not send James Harden to Philadelphia along with Patty Mills? You get younger because you're going to be trading away Seth Curry and a couple older guys to make room for this year. You get Patty Mills, who is probably one of the favorites to win Sixth Man of the Year this year, who can come in and start if you need him to at point guard, or you can have him start at shooting guard or come off the bench and keep the same role that he's at right now. You bring in James Harden, he can start at your point guard in Philadelphia, and you're going to get 10 to 15 more points out of Harden than what you get out of Ben Simmons. Granted, defensively, Ben Simmons is better than James Harden, but from an offensive side of things, it would make it very interesting for Philadelphia. It would put them in position to overtake Miami for that top seed, just because you're fixing the hole that you have right now, and your team has played well without having your point guard in there.
Hey, real quick question before Ron answers that as well. Gridiron Yuki says, what's your thoughts possibly on getting Kevin O'Connell? Because he could say, sorry, and stay with L.A. Do you think that's going to happen? Because I thought O'Connell already was hired by Minnesota.
He has been hired, but it can't be made official until after the Super Bowl. They basically told Kevin O'Connell that the job is yours after the Super Bowl, which is why they didn't hire Jim Harbaugh. The biggest thing with the situation right now is actually revolving around Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy's contract is up in Kansas City. Eric Bieniemy used to play for the Minnesota Vikings organization. There are people right now that think if Kevin O'Connell goes to Minnesota, he's going to try to bring Bieniemy with him to be the offensive coordinator in Minnesota and appoint Bieniemy the assistant head coach.
Okay. God, there's so many rabbit holes in today's show to go down. Real quick question for all you guys. Real quick question. If you're a Bieniemy, do you leave Kansas City to go to Minnesota? Or are you trying to stay in Kansas City to possibly take over from Andy Reid when he retires and take the Kansas City job? What are we doing here?
If I'm Bieniemy, I leave for one reason. Andy Reid still calls the plays in Kansas City. And a lot of people continue to say they don't know exactly the type of play caller Bieniemy is, because he still calls plays basically 50-50 with Andy Reid, and Andy Reid still has the ultimate final say over what Bieniemy calls. If Bieniemy really wants a head coaching job, whether it's in Kansas City, whether it's elsewhere, he needs to go to a team where the offense is completely his, where he has complete control over calling the plays. Granted, Kevin O'Connell has been calling plays for the last 4 years with the Rams. He would give the enemy that complete control, and he would give the enemy complete 100% say in the offense. So let's just say he goes to Minnesota, and Minnesota's offense gets back to that 2017 version of themselves when they had Case Keenum. The enemy is going to be interviewing for numerous head coaching jobs in 2023 if he can do that. And I think that's the only reason why I see the enemy leaving, because as good of a gig as it is to work with Andy Reid in Kansas City, if you really want a shot as a head coach, you need to prove that you can call plays on your own and not kind of be in the shadow of Andy Reid.
What do you think, Ron? Does Bieniemy leave for Minnesota, or does he stay in Kansas City?
I can't disagree with the point Dustin just made. It's right on the money. It's honestly sad that Bieniemy is not getting any head coaching opportunities, that he has to go still prove that he is going to be a good head coach by going to the Vikings and doing the same thing that he's been doing with the Chiefs. 1,000% agreement.
Yeah, it's a lateral move. When I think he's done with. He should be done with it, like a lateral type move. I mean, I think he's, it's time for him to be a head coach at some point. But yeah, it's crazy. All right, Rob, what do you think about the situation? Does he leave to go to Minnesota, or does he stay in KC?
I think he'll stay at Kansas City. The only reason I think so, Andy Reid has had his back. Andy Reid has done everything he possibly can to get this man a head coaching position. So I think Bieniemy just out of that loyalty that Reid has showed to him, regardless of who's really calling the plays, I think if he can't get a head coaching job, why stop a good thing? If I can't get a head coaching job, I'll continue to win rings over here in Kansas City as the offensive coordinator. We got a possibility of getting Odell Beckham Jr., and that's going to open up a world of opportunity of new play calling for this team. And I think he can just show people better than he can tell them with Kansas City. I wouldn't start over with the Vikings, especially going to, or being around somebody that I don't really know, like I know Andy Reid. So I would stay in Kansas City.
The only thing is, is it going to be a Josh McDaniels situation? Like, everyone expected Josh McDaniels to take over for Bill Belichick. But yet, Bill Belichick is still there. And now Josh McDaniels is with the Raiders. The enemy is not a young assistant. He's 51 going on 52. Andy Reid is 63 going on 64. He's got 5 years left on his deal. How long is the enemy going to be willing to sit behind Andy Reid until he gets a head coaching job? Because if he gets to be 57, 58, how many teams are going to give him a head coaching job at 58 years old?
Well, what about if they win the Super Bowl next year? Then that changes the dynamic, because now you have to respect the fact that'll be 5 consecutive AFC championship games with 2 Super Bowl titles. But it's hard not to make a case for him.
You got the four straight AFC title games for 2 straight Super Bowls as it is.
Yeah, but they lost.
Yeah,
they lost.
He went from getting 3 interviews in 2020 to 0 interviews in 2021.
Yeah, and I'm still disappointed in Poles for not even considering him for the Chicago Bears.
Didn't you hear why?
No.
For the same reason that I said that Bieniemy needs to go to Minnesota. Cole says he has unbelievable respect for Bieniemy, but until he sees Bieniemy run an offense on his own, he can't give him a head coaching opportunity. Because nobody knows what he is as a coach, because he doesn't have 100% say in that Kansas City offense. It's, Andy, this is what I want to run. And if Andy wants to run it, he says, okay, do it. But if Andy doesn't like it, Andy will overrule what the enemy call and tell Mahomes, this is what we're going to do. Ryan Poles says the same thing, because that's exactly what happened with Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy was considered one of the more brilliant assistant coaches that Andy Reid ever had.
Yeah.
The only problem was he never called plays in Kansas City. He was in the same position that Bieniemy was, where he was basically Reid's right-hand man, talking about the offense and not doing anything. Chicago kind of took the bait on that and said, Andy Reid says you're such a brilliant offensive mind, you got to be good. Well, he proved that you need at least a couple years of calling your own plays
Yeah.
to understand what you're doing, and that's ultimately what's holding the enemy back. He doesn't have those years where he calls plays on his own. He needs at least one season where the offense is his. Not Andy Reid's say, not anybody else's say. It's his offense. He can prove that he can run a team by calling his side of the ball.
Makes a good point. Good point.
All right. Hey, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, Ron Lowe is going to pick up with the whole Harden trade and Rob Scott. Did you have something you wanted to say, or are you just asking for a bathroom break?
I'm just saying, man, this James Harden thing, man, that's hot off the press.
I know. So when we come back, we're going to talk James Harden. We'll be right back, folks.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Jay, I think you muted.
Well,
You muted yourself again.
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome
Jay
back.
is muted.
Ron, you're up on James Harden.
Gotta unmute yourself, Jay. There you go.
Oh, man. The internet's
There you
killing
go.
hey, listen, man. It's hard out here. You don't understand how hard it is to be old and technology and how great it is. It's just great. All right.
Hey, I give you this though. You're not doing as bad as I've seen other people do. I always joke and say, if you got to look at your phone with your glasses like this, technology might not be for you.
Hey, I hope I'm not too bad, that bad, but hey, let's bring this back up. They just want to hear about what you guys think about Harden wanting out badly enough that they pull the trade. Today is the deadline. Ron, what are we doing?
So Simmons for Harden. How can you not love it? Literally a perfect situation for Brooklyn. Literally a perfect situation for Philly. However, I woke up this morning and I got the latest trade offer. Sixers get James Harden. Nets, of course, get Ben Simmons, Jalen Rieger, Will Smith, Meek Mills, signed Matt Gregor jersey, Kiki's and Peeps, the Gritty, all remaining Carson Wentz Eagles gear, the Rocky statue, and Pat's Anginos. Unfortunately, we cannot give you our entire roster, Brooklyn. I'm sorry. They want everything.
And the thing about it was, the last time I saw this trade, Brooklyn was wanting 5 first-round picks for Harden. Houston only got 3.
Matisse Thybulle. I was trying.
Houston only got 3. How did he jump from 3 picks to 5 picks?
At first, they just wanted Ben and Seth Curry. At first, they just wanted Ben and Seth Curry, and I'm just like, oh, I can't lose Seth. Like Seth is, he is a bad boy. And then they threw in Matisse Thybulle too. I'm just like, oh no, there's just no way. I was hurt when I saw Matisse in there.
Well, I think
I think some of these trades. What's that?
The trade would basically be Harden would replace Simmons, Patty Mills would replace Curry, and then Thybulle would be the first-round pick, basically, that Brooklyn has. It's pretty much Brooklyn's getting in a way of what they're asking. They're just getting it in a different way.
So we're giving up Thybulle for a first-rounder.
It's giving up Thybulle for 2 people, but like Thybulle's equivalent to like the first-round pick.
Oh, okay. Thybulle's the
because I don't think Philadelphia has a first-round pick next year. So because of that, you throw in Thybulle as kind of your first-round talent that you can build around, basically.
I look at Thybulle as a future defensive player of the year, at least all defensive team, which he has already done. So I don't know how that's just a basic first-rounder, but do you guys think it's worth it?
Rob, what's your opinion?
Hey, I'm going for it. Actually, if I'm Brooklyn, I'm gonna try to let James Harden go because I mean, what you gonna do? Wait until the end of the season and then he leaves and you get nothing for him?
So at the end of the year, if James Harden just walks and goes into being a free agent, he leaves
they don't
$60
get
million
nothing.
on the table.
Yeah, but you still.
He's not going to re-sign with Brooklyn. You know that he's not re-signing.
He's not re-signing with Brooklyn. I mean,
Yeah.
if you could get Ben Simmons out that deal, I mean, you still get to keep Kyrie at his natural position of a shooting guard because Kyrie is not a point guard. You still gonna get that 7-foot monster back and KD, and you're not asking Ben Simmons to be a third scorer.
No,
and
you
think
asked him to
about
play
all of the space that he's gonna get, though.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is gonna have a lot of space to operate, and that dude in the open court is as good as any open court player. So I think that'll be a good deal for the Brooklyn Nets
And
to get a Ben Simmons.
Yeah, defense wins championships, and if you give Brooklyn Ben Simmons and Thibault, that's two of the better defensive players in the Eastern Conference right there that are going to lock up defenders in the Eastern Conference, plus Kevin Durant, who's not a bad defender himself.
Not to mention they don't have that many big young bigs, so now you're going to get a lot bigger. Bringing in a Thibault and bringing in a Ben Simmons, and I think that can then pose threats to Milwaukee because I think as is, even with Kevin Durant, Brooklyn's not beating Milwaukee in a 7-game series. It's not happening.
Yeah. I think they will because they almost did last year without Irving and Harden on the field.
I get you, and everybody bring up that toe situation, but you have to imagine now, teams are a lot better. I think Milwaukee, with the chemistry they have, they're a lot better regardless of what their record is. They're the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. You still got Drew Holiday, who's not going to have to worry about Kyrie Irving every game unless they pay the fine. So with all the uncertainty surrounding the Brooklyn Nets, I think you bring in something that's certain. Ben Simmons is young. He's healthy. He wants to play. He just doesn't want to play for Doc.
Right.
I like how you did that.
Hey, who actually proposed the trade? Was it from New York or Brooklyn, or was it from
Brooklyn?
Well, I think Philly is proposing the trade because Brooklyn wants to try to hold on to James Harden. He's still a big name in the league, but clearly you see James Harden is not happy. And how could you be? Because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving has to be the most diva players in the league.
Right.
You know, they say they just want to play, but they always pose a problem. It's, you know, sooner or later, you have to call a spade a spade. If you go to teams and you're the problem on every team, you're the problem. And to be honest, James Harden is a problem. But I think Joel Embiid can keep him in check.
I don't know. I think Harden just wants a fair shake.
Harden is a problem, man.
But hold on now. Hold on. I get what you're saying. But hold on.
Westbrook.
Hold on. And I ask you to hold on because, listen, from a Houston Rockets standpoint, I've seen him with Westbrook, and they coexisted okay. They weren't having problems on the court. So why can't he coexist with an Embiid? I mean, he's coexisting where he is now. He knows he's not the MVP. He's not getting the shots he got in Houston, and he took a lesser role to be with Brooklyn. He's just pissed off that Urban is not giving his full 100% because he won't get the vaccination.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be the number one
always
guy.
Being injured.
Harden wants to be the guy like he was in Houston. When he was in OKC, he was the number 3 behind Westbrook and Durant. When Kyrie Irving plays in Brooklyn, he's considered the number 3 behind Irving and Durant. He wants to go to a team where he is the number 1 option. He goes to Philadelphia, he may not be the number 1 option because they have Joel Embiid, but he's going to be option 1A because they play a different style. Embiid, your inside-out center. James Harden is basically your distributor, your perimeter shooter, and your facilitator. So he goes to Philadelphia, it gives him the best chance to be that number 1 option that he wants to be, like he was in Houston.
He goes to Philadelphia, they become the poor man Shaq and Kobe.
Hey, listen. Listen. Does it really matter to the poor man Shaq and Kobe? As long as they get a ring, I don't think they're really going to care.
Oh no,
I wouldn't care.
they're not gonna care. But
It's not even a ring. Just making it to the finals is enough for Philly.
Hey, Philly just got to beat Atlanta.
See, Rob out here trying to hurt people.
I'm just saying, man. I didn't see that coming last year, but I will say this though. It brings on an interesting dynamic because you see the way that Joel Embiid has been playing this season. This man is playing out of his mind right now.
Right.
And you bring in a James Harden, who I think if he does get traded to Brooklyn, he's going to come in with a little bit more energy. He's going to be revitalized. He's going to be a breath of fresh air, not to mention the relationship he has with Daryl Morey. It's going to be a big family reunion. So I like it for James Harden. And if I'm Philadelphia or if I'm Brooklyn, who's ever the team that's holding back the trade, I will pull the trigger on it because the one thing you don't want is an unhappy player. And both teams have unhappy players.
Yeah. As a Sixers fan, this is devastating. I'm happy all the great point guards are out west because our perimeter D is just going to get cooked. Like James Harden and Patty Mills. What else is there? Nothing. Garland's gonna have a fun time playing Philly. Irving's gonna light us up, and Trae Young. But I don't think it's gonna be enough.
But you also have to think about Joel Embiid to be there to kind of wipe some of those mistakes away.
There's nothing going down in the paint. Yeah, Joel's the best big man.
Ron, you're quite the anomaly. I almost kind of want to change your name from Ron Lowe to East Coast, West Coast. Let's be honest. You would not have survived. Where you live at, Ron?
You don't want to know where I'm not on either coast. I'm in Alaska.
Well, that's even crazier. But
tell me about it.
But no, listen, you would have never survived during the old school Tupac, Biggie Smalls era. Because they would have crucified you being East Coast, West Coast. But neither to say, hey, that's interesting.
Right.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
You got to blame the Rams. They're the ones that left to the West Coast. But I guess Tupac left too. So it would be the same, right?
Well, according to Meek Mill, Tupac's back. No, just
but speaking of West Coast, let's shift a little bit to the Lakers. Are they going to pull the trigger on Russell Westbrook today and trade him for John Wall, or is it just smoke and mirrors at this point? I think Houston does want him.
That'd be stupid.
If they're getting Eric Gordon,
if you get Eric Gordon, then I'm pulling that trigger. I'm pulling it.
And Houston, Houston's going to want picks. Houston's going to want picks
to give. They got one pick, and it's in 27.
Exactly, and that's why I don't think it happens because I don't think they have enough to offer Houston in terms of picks. They don't because I don't think Houston wants any of their players because they're in rebuild and they're trying to go younger, certainly not older.
You don't think THT?
THT. You guys don't think?
I don't think they're taking THT on. I don't even think I would want to take THT on. I think I want younger, and I don't know. For me personally, I'm not a big believer in THT. Are you guys? You think THT is really that good or what?
He lost his
I don't.
Yeah.
Huh?
He's a better version of Kyle Kuzma. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think he'll have a better game not playing with LeBron. I think everybody can't take on that pressure of NBA championship or bust. Playing with LeBron is very taxing, but you look at players after they leave LeBron, they start to have great careers because that pressure is gone. I'm not saying he's going to make it back to a championship, but as far as having a decent regular season,
great careers, Rob.
Huh?
They leave LeBron and have great careers.
Well, they have decent careers.
You're talking about.
Decent careers.
Okay, I'll accept that.
I'll say decent. Now, you're right. You can't use the word great for everything. I agree with you, Ron. Thank you for checking me on that. Continue. Real talk.
But, Stat guy, man. Hey, what's your opinion on this whole Russell Westbrook, John Wall situation?
The Lakers benched Russell Westbrook last night, 24 hours before trade deadline. Usually when that happens, a trade follows. You see it in baseball all the time. You get to deadline day in baseball, usually players get them who are mentioned in trade talks, and at some point during that day, they get traded.
I feel like
It's
if
a,
I'm LeBron James, are you my bad?
now, if you're the Lakers, you have to do it. You have to
Yeah.
do it because Russell Westbrook is a liability. LeBron James is starting to realize bringing him to Los Angeles was a mistake. He might not physically admit that it was a mistake, but you can tell that it's a mistake. John Wall is not playing for the Rockets just because they're in rebuild mode and there's no point to put him out there. Why not send him to Los Angeles and give him a chance to play? From the contract side of things, you have Russell Westbrook making $42 million. John Wall's making $37. So the Lakers are going to save a little bit of money bringing John Wall in. He might not be as offensively gifted, but he's also not going to make the stupid mistakes that Russell Westbrook makes, and he's a better defender. And that ultimately is what the Lakers need, are better defenders, because opponents shoot nearly 70% against Russell Westbrook. That's a problem. Especially when you look at the Western Conference and the guards that they have, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Donovan Mitchell, all these people. If he's allowing 70% shooting off of him, that's a long and very short exit in the playoffs because all a team needs to do is have a high-scoring guard, and Lakers will sweep. At least John Wall can at least lock defenders up enough to make it more difficult. And if the Lakers' defense improves, LeBron James and Anthony Davis together are good enough to make the Lakers relevant. They just need to get better defensively, and that starts with getting rid of Russell Westbrook and then adding somebody that's a better defensive player.
You said 70%.
They shoot opponents
Yeah.
shoot 68.3% off of Russell Westbrook.
You can't suck on offense and defense, Russ. Lord,
So you got to pick one of them and be good at
He
one.
doesn't suck on offense and defense. He sucks on offense because he doesn't play defense. Like, you have to try to be that bad on defense. Like, if you could even try to play defense, I bet people would shoot under 60%. He doesn't even try. He just stands there.
Yeah, like that double team, that soft double team they tried to do on Reggie Jackson when he spent on my boy Reeves.
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm like, Russ, it's either you gonna double team or you stay out the play. But
Yeah.
that you
Pretty much.
can't double team a guy and be behind the plate. And that right there sums up who he's been this season. It's like, dude, if you know, like Shannon Sharp has said, I think everybody was so mesmerized by the triple doubles. We're like, man, this dude is making history, you know, but nobody really cared about the Thunder. So it was more so an individual thing. But when you look back at it, you like, yeah, he would give you a triple double with 8 turnovers and he couldn't stop a cold out there. It's just bad. And him getting exposed with the Los Angeles Lakers, I feel bad for the guy
I don't.
because when the crowd boos you, when the crowd is screaming no, when you're shooting a open shot, that's bad.
I should tell you something. I mean, they do it to Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. So I mean, I don't feel bad for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, but Russ Brooks, he's not a bad guy. I think he doesn't answer questions the right way because I'm sorry, I'm a sore loser. I'm gonna be out there mad at myself. I'm not gonna be saying, well, the sun is gonna come up the next day. I'm pissed. I'm actually ready to play another game because somebody got to feel this wrath. And I don't think he has that mentality anymore. It's like Russell Westbrook, he's content with getting his check and playing the game. That's it. It's like he doesn't care about winning.
Well, it's not only that too. Like, he doesn't adjust his game. He's a terrible 3-point shooter. He knows it. The NBA knows it. The Lakers know it. But yet he will still shoot 10 3-pointers a game and be lucky to hit 2. Like, at some point, you have to realize that you should not be shooting threes, and you should be focusing on your mid-range jumper and using your athleticism to get to the rim. You're not Stephen Curry. You're not any of these good 3-point shooters. Stop trying to be like that. That's not the kind of guard you are. Derrick Rose did the same thing his first couple years in Chicago. He was an athletic freak who could get to the rim whenever he wanted, who had a very good mid-range jumper, but couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from deep. So what does he do? He scrapped the three-point part of his game, turned himself into an MVP by just driving to the rim every single time. Eventually, he got a better three-point game, but Russell Westbrook's been in the league now for 11 or 12 years. and he has yet to adjust his game. He's been a terrible three-point shooter from day one, and he has yet to basically scrap that part of his game. He continues to be the player he's always been.
Yeah.
Yes, the triple-doubles are great, but I would sacrifice triple-doubles for a point guard that's actually smart and knows what he's good at and what he's not good at.
In a heartbeat. Yeah,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
agree. Oh, man, you just brought back memories with Derrick Rose, man. Oh,
hey,
man.
speaking of trades, though, hey, look, so we've kind of talked about, the trades, with Brooklyn and Philly and Houston and LA. We've already seen all the other trades that have happened. Is there any other trades? Obviously, this is the deadline day. So are there any other trades you think that's out there that could come fruition? I think Miami needs to bring in another big. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Bulls need to make one.
I mean, if I'm Miami, I'll try to go after Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Miles Turner is Miami.
I would go after Miles Turner. Because I think Indiana was in a similar situation. That they said they were going to sit Miles Turner until they can kind of find out what they can do with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, with Bam kind of being the lone wolf there as your only big man, I would try to
trade Miles Turner for Duncan Robinson and Pitt.
Yeah, I would do it in a heartbeat, just to bring some hype to that team. Because essentially, if I'm Miami, I'm trying to match up with Milwaukee. That's who I have my eye on. And unfortunately, with Bam being your biggest player, he ain't stopping Giannis. So I'm gonna bring as many bodies as I can to try to prevent this man from getting to the lane. Because if Giannis gets down low on Bam, I'm sorry, that's a bucket. You can count that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I feel like Miami would do that. I think, Dustin, you were talking about Chicago possibly wanting to pull off a trade.
The Bulls need to give Vucevic some help.
Yeah.
He's legitimately the only guy on that roster over 6'9". Mm-hmm. Tony Bradley Jr. 6'10", but he plays like 10 minutes.
And Tony Bradley's trash. I want to put that out.
I mean, he's not trash, but he's not
trash.
He's not somebody that you can count on to give you 25 minutes and fill in for Vucevic if he gets hurt, if he gets in foul trouble.
He doesn't have good hands to me, and his defense is very suspect.
Chicago needs to pull the trigger and get Jakob from San Antonio.
Am I the only one that thinks Chicago is kind of soft on the defensive side? I think
they are because
soft.
They don't have soft.
We're soft now because we don't have our wing defenders.
Patrick Williams was their starting power forward, and he's 6'7".
Yeah.
They don't have any size outside of Vucevic. And I mean, Williams is physical, but he's only 6'7".
Right.
Like, they need a guy that's at least 6'9" that they can plug in at power forward. And Jakob Poeltl may be a center, but you could essentially bring him in, move him to the 5, and then move Vucevic to the 4. And you legitimately got taller, more physical, and better offensively because Jakob Poeltl is a good offensive center. The Bulls already sent a trade proposal to San Antonio for Poeltl, and they rejected it. I don't know what was all in that offer. But you also have guys like Paul Millsap you can bring in. Bulls tried to get him in the offseason as a free agent. You can try to bring Thaddeus Young back, who was basically sent to San Antonio in order to acquire DeMar DeRozan. Both those guys are 6'9", 240 pounds that are going to give you 10 or 12 points per game, but they give you that physicality and they give you that size that Chicago needs in the front court. Bulls know what they have to do. The problem is they don't have draft picks to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Every trade chip that is very good for the Bulls at this point is injured because Patrick Williams is the best trade chip they have. Well, he's got a broken wrist, and Chicago's not going to part with him anyways. Kobe White would be the second best trade chip. But when you have Alex Caruso out for 6 weeks and Lonzo Ball out for 6 weeks, it kind of takes him off the table because you need another point guard with those two being out. So the Bulls are in a position where they're stuck as to what they can do, but they have to make something happen to get a guy like Poeltl or Millsap or Thaddeus Young to give Vucevic some time.
Yeah. So, real quick, we're going to slide gears real quick. So this is our last topic for today. 9 coaches were hired in the NFL, and I'm saying 9 because I'm assuming that unless something changes, O'Connell has that job in Minnesota. 9 were hired. Who got it right? Who got it wrong? We're gonna go in reverse order. I'm gonna start off with Rob, then Ron, and then the stat guy. Rob, who got it right? Who got it wrong?
The Raiders got it right. I mean, you bring in an offensive mind like Josh McDaniel, with Derek Carr. I think the Raiders have some potential, especially if they're able to get some receivers to that roster. I think the Raiders get back to prominence. I think the Houston Texans got it right. I would love to see what Lovie Smith can do, and that's from the heart. I love Lovie. He coached the Chicago Bears, and he did some miraculous things with the Bears that possibly shouldn't have happened with the different quarterbacks that we have, not having a stable number one quarterback. Remember, we were in between Cal Orton and Rex Grossman and Josh McCown. So, for the Bears to reach a Super Bowl, to be one of those top teams in the NFC in the way that our defense was a staple. We were truly, when Urlacher and Briggs were back there, we were the monsters of the Midway. So I think the Texans got it right. Of course, everybody's going to say Denver got it wrong. And
then my goodness, did they ever get it wrong? Jeez.
I'm gonna let you guys take that one, but I'm a little skeptical about Matt Eberflus. I don't know if the Bears got that right. I'm a little nervous because you want to bring in somebody that's gonna help develop Justin Fields, and Eberflus was a defensive coordinator. So I'm a little nervous about that. I don't want to condemn the man before the season gets started, but this was just a pick I didn't see coming. So I got a question mark on the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I actually thought Dable would have been a really good hire because of what he did for Josh Allen. I thought he might have been a good hire for Chicago.
Yeah, the Giants got it right. See what he can do with Jones over there.
All right, Ron.
Hey, before you go, Ron, we got breaking news on the NBA trade front.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
What we got?
So we have a 4-team trade. The Milwaukee Bucks are acquiring Serge Ibaka.
Wow.
From the Clippers.
Wow.
The Kings are getting Dante DiVincenzo from the Bucks. And Marvin Bagley is going to the Pistons as part of the 4-team trade.
Wait a minute.
They
just got Ibaka?
What was that?
Milwaukee got Ibaka?
Yeah.
Milwaukee got Ibaka. The Kings got Dante DiVincenzo, and Bagley went to the Pistons.
Ron,
wow. Well, Milwaukee just got exponentially better.
Well, I'd like to say congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks, your 2021-2022 NBA champions.
Man, what a trade. What a trade.
Wow. So that
that's all I can say is wow.
You think about the possibilities with that because Brook Lopez is out.
Oh, yeah.
So you can essentially throw Ibaka in there in that starting lineup with Giannis.
Easily.
And you still got Bobby Portis coming off the. Oh my God.
They're gonna be deep. That team's gonna be deep.
God. Who pulled the trigger on that one?
No idea.
Sounds like the Bucks.
Man, you ain't lying.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Ron, who got it right? Who got it wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry about that.
I feel like we got to talk about this.
That was a bombshell right there.
Hey, you can put that who got it right, who got it wrong all day long, even on the NBA trade deadline.
Golly.
All right, Ron, let's get back to football real quick. Let's wrap this topic up. Who got it right and who got it wrong in the coaching hire carousel?
I'm looking at all of them. I feel like I don't think anybody got it right. I don't really like any of the hires. Period. My favorite one would be the Raiders. Josh McDaniels getting his second chance. If I had to like one, that should be interesting. He's getting a good franchise. I hope he doesn't goof it this time. But he has a lot to prove. And outside of that, if I had to hate one, I'm still interested in seeing what Minnesota does. I would love to laugh at the Giants and whatever they're doing. Let's give our worst trade, our worst hire to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I hate that one because Dougie P is my guy, but you go from one clown in Urban Meyer to the next one in Ronald McDonald, Dougie P. This is going to be horrendous for Trevor Lawrence's career, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, Stack out. Who you got the worst and best?
I think in terms of the best, the Giants did well just because we've seen what Brian Dable has done with Josh Allen. So I'm very intrigued to see what he does with Daniel Jones because both Allen and Daniel Jones have a similar skill set coming out of college. Obviously, Josh Allen has a better skill set, but Daniel Jones, I think, can do pretty well with Dable. So I kind of like that hire. I'm on kind of the opposite side of things with Ron. I think Jacksonville did a good job with Doug Peterson, mainly because he worked very well with Carson Wentz. And when Doug Peterson was the coach at Philadelphia, Carson Wentz played at an MVP level. Since Doug Peterson has left, well, we've kind of seen what Carson Wentz has turned into. Trevor Lawrence was a rookie last year and struggled mightily just because Jacksonville was a dumpster fire and a half and had no idea what the heck they were doing on anything. I think Trevor Lawrence can end up having a good career with Doug Peterson because Peterson's had success with young quarterbacks and veteran quarterbacks because he was a quarterback. He kind of knows like what it takes and what a quarterback is good at and what a quarterback is not good at. Josh McDaniels going to the Raiders, I think, could be good. I'm just not sold on him as a head coach at this point just because he had a chance to go to the Colts and kind of backed out last minute, and he would have had Andrew Luck as his starter at that point yet. So I don't know if really anybody trusts him in Vegas right now. Lovie Smith to Houston is good, but is Lovie Smith out of touch at this point, knowing that he really hasn't had an NFL head coaching job in over a decade? Is he out of touch with the NFL game, knowing that he spent 6 years as a head coach at Illinois and really didn't have much success with Illinois at all? I think Dennis Allen getting promoted, I think, is not necessarily a lose-lose, but it's kind of a last resort just because I know the Saints wanted Brian Flores. But after Brian Flores did what he did, it was kind of difficult for anybody to give him a job at that point. So Dennis Allen was pretty much the last resort, basically saying, well, we need to hire somebody and somebody quick, so let's just give it to Dennis Allen, who did well filling in for Sean Payton this year. But Denver's the one team that got it completely wrong. And that's no disrespect to Nathaniel Hackett. No disrespect to him at all. But the guy got fired from Jacksonville as an offensive coordinator. Went to Green Bay and was sitting behind Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. So when you look at the play calling situation, Nathaniel Hackett was really third in line. You had Aaron Rodgers was your number one play caller. Matt LaFleur was your number two, and Nathaniel Hackett was your number three. The only reason why Nathaniel Hackett was brought to Denver is because Denver believes that if Nathaniel Hackett goes there, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, or at least one of those two, are going to follow him to Denver. The problem is, if you don't get either one of them, your coaching tenure is going to be 2 years, and you are going to be out. And Denver's going to be in the same position they're in right now, where they are a team loaded with talent on both sides of the ball, but they're stuck in neutral because they don't have a head coach and they don't have a quarterback. Denver needed to go out and actually get somebody that had previous head coach experience, somebody that had play calling experience, somebody that would have been able to come in and build a nice surrounding staff around them. I just think that Nathaniel Hackett was a swing for the fences, hoping that Rodgers and Adams would follow him to Denver, knowing that if they don't get him, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, I think the Denver thing, it's a bad hire to begin with. From a coaching standpoint, it's a bad hire. If Aaron Rodgers, for some reason, does decide to vacate Green Bay and go to Denver because of him. I don't know, man. I think it only looks good as if you get a Super Bowl out of it. Otherwise, you just kind of are stunting your team a little bit. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I don't like the Denver hire. Even if you do get Aaron Rodgers, I still really don't like it. Just don't like him.
Yeah, the problem I see with it too is Aaron Rodgers did what Andy Reid did with Matt Nagy. Andy Reid basically pumped up Matt Nagy, saying that Nagy was one of the smartest coaches that he ever worked with.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers endorsed Nathaniel Hackett for a head coach, basically saying that he's a very smart guy, a very good offensive coach, and would make any team happy to be a head coach. So Aaron Rodgers is the one that talked him up. And all of a sudden now, let's just say he doesn't go to Denver and stays in Green Bay or goes elsewhere, or if Rodgers goes to Denver and Denver still sucks. That's going to look bad on Rodgers then for talking him up and then basically getting mediocre results out of it.
Right. And, honestly, there's not one hire that I really honestly like this year. I mean, Josh McDaniel is probably borderline for me because he did fail with Denver. I don't know what we're going to get on the second go-around of Josh McDaniel because when he was at Denver, he tried too hard to be like Bill Belichick. And if he goes and becomes his own person and does his own thing with the Raiders, then possibly. But the jury's still out on all of this. So I'm not really bought in on any true one head coaching job. The Jacksonville, at best, I could say, like you said, they brought in a guy who has veteran experience at coaching. He is a quarterback from trade, so he can develop a quarterback. Maybe Trevor Lawrence needs that. But, I put that at maybe, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I put it right about between a 5 and a 6. The Lovie Smith hire, I don't know about that one. I think it looks good from, I guess, a minority hiring standpoint. But is he the right minority for the job? I don't think so. I think Brian Flores went in there and didn't come out with a contract. And if their reason for not giving Brian Flores a contract is because they didn't want to be associated with, whatever drama he's bringing to the NFL. Well, shame on them. That's even worse, in my opinion. I think Brian Flores would have been good at a number of locations, and yet he has no contract, and I think it's completely stupid. Dable is, he's not a bad hire for New York. He's not. But that's only if you believe Daniel Jones is the right guy for the job because Dable doesn't have, in my opinion, he does not have rebuild experience. And I believe that, in my opinion, the Giants are a rebuilding type of team because I'm not sold on Saquon Barkley and I'm not sold on Galladay and I'm damn sure not sold on the offensive line or the defensive side. So I think that whole team needs to really be reworked. And I don't know if Dable can do that. I think he could obviously develop probably Daniel Jones, but I don't know about the whole team as a whole. I think Dable, to Rob's point of view, would have been good for Justin Fields and Chicago because I think he could have developed Justin Fields. I also think Dable could have possibly I don't know about Jacksonville because they're another rebuild team. So I think Dable would have been good there. But there's a lot of people that passed up on, even bringing in a Bieniemy or offering him a job, or even a Caldwell. What happened to Jim Caldwell? I mean, why has he not been hired? I think he's probably better than half of the white coaches that were hired. Certainly better than Hackett. Probably a lot better than Dennis Allen out of the Saints. I think there's a lot of people out there that missed the mark this year, and I think the upcoming year is going to expose that. Yeah, and that's just my 2 cents. All right, before we go, I'm gonna give you hey, I know you like that, don't you, Rob? See, I'm playing off of you, man. Hey, listen, and I hope that's not copyrighted. If so, please don't.
Oh, of course. Hey, Jay, you're welcome to use it anytime, my brother.
Okay. Because, man, Lord, listen, I only gave him $5 and I don't know what.
Hey, I only got 2 cents.
All right, hey, listen, folks, I'm gonna give everybody a chance to get their final thoughts before I get us out of here. We'll start off with Dustin this time around and go around the horn. Dustin, you got any final thoughts, any stats you want to put out?
Stat-wise, no. It's just been a good start to the NBA trade deadline. So if this is what we can expect for the rest of the deadline day, there's going to be a lot of shifting between a lot of teams, and we're going to see who the real contenders are and who the real pretenders are by about 4 o'clock today.
All right, Ron, you got any final thoughts you want to put out, my brother?
Stat guys, hot trade alert sent me into like an NBA warp hole, and I just had to go absorb and see everything that was going on. I saw the Lakers were in talks as well with a trade. I think the Knicks and somebody else, but they're but in talks to get Cam Reddish and who else?
Whoa.
Yeah, it's trending.
Okay, I like this NBA trade deadline. That's what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
you said the Lakers are talking about possibly getting Cam Reddish from the Knicks?
Yeah, here it go. Lakers get Cam Reddish and Alec Burks. Knicks get Goran Dragic and draft pick get THT and Nerlens Noel.
There go your defense. Lakers, you better try to make it happen. There goes your defense on the wings.
So, yeah.
Hey, Lakers is just a complete shambles, man. But hey, it is what it is. Rob,
4 more hours. I'm excited. Like that.
Yes.
Rob, what final thoughts you got?
First of all, I agree with Ron. Dustin just dropped the bomb on us, and man, Milwaukee. Hey, shout out to their general manager. Shout out to their upper management for getting that deal done.
Yes.
That's huge.
That
Ibaka
huge.
brings championship experience. He's played with the best of them. He's played with the KDs. He's played with the Kawhis. Wow. And I'm ready for a great Super Bowl. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I'm just hoping we have a great game. And once again, happy to see my boy Dustin is back on the fold. And it's always a pleasure when I get to do the show with all you guys. So, and happy Valentine's Day, ladies. We're gonna make sure you guys enjoy your weekend, even though it's Super Bowl Sunday.
Damn.
We got to change your name.
Dustin leaves for like 2 days, and you're all about him. I leave for 1 day, and I don't get crap. You know what, Rob? Hell with you, man.
Hey, happy wife, happy life, happy husband. Who gives a damn?
But all right, hey, listen, man. Hey, it's been a good show. I appreciate the viewpoints you guys bring, and yeah, man. Hey, listen, go Rockets, go rebuild, okay? Go rebuild. We're doing all right. We're hanging in there, man.
Go Bulls.
Hey, but until next time, man. Hey, it's been fun. It's been real, and we'll catch you guys.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a place. You talking the game, get you to the. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a place. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.